Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's installment of my weekly slash bi-weekly quest to seemingly never get a project done and ever increase my pile of shame, I've decided to paint not only my second Chaos army on the go at any given time, but my second pink slash purple army. I was in a shop the other day and I don't really keep up to date with new releases at all. I didn't realize that they'd actually re-released the Terminator sculpts as new models. So I saw them, thought they were sweet, and figured I'd pick up a box to paint eventually. I thought maybe I would do some Night Lords after seeing the new release, or the new tease of a Night Lords kill team, which I thought looked sweet. But who am I kidding? Everything's got to be pink or have some pink in it. So I wanted to do a really desaturated Emperor's Children scheme. So I started out with a black undercoat, as I do with just about all of my models, and I wanted to, I don't know, I guess be different to my magenta Loyalist Marines in every sense that I could. So even though it really makes not much difference, I started out with a different base coat of purple that's very similar. For my magenta loyalists, I use Vallejo model color violet. For this, I used Vallejo model color royal purple. It's a little bit, I don't know, it's got a little bit of red in it. You can't really notice it once it's dried. I then did a zenithal coat with an airbrush. So this is essentially shooting top down, which is just a really quick and easy way to establish some natural shadows on, you know, all the volumes of the model, especially considering generally Marines are a ton of cylinders, so it's really easy to follow a path, you know, shoot straight down the back of the leg, and you can see the way the light obviously leaves shadow underneath the tucked under areas, but it's easy to just kind of follow a path down the legs and, you know, create some natural lighting or natural looking lighting, because none of this is realistic, around the leg. I then just added some white ink to the squid pink. Squid pink goes through an airbrush pretty clean, white doesn't. So I'm using ink to desaturate it, brighten it, but also keep it flowing nicely so we don't get any gross sputtering through an airbrush. I then do the exact opposite from underneath, and that's essentially just adding in some more shadow, adding in some more depth, and kind of hitting it with a reverse zenithal. So I'm using Vallejo's violet ink through an airbrush. Inks go through an airbrush perfectly, and this is like the god tier use case for inks. I never used to do this, and I regret it, because it adds, you can add different color interest as well as just a ton of really pretty shading for literally no effort. Now I'm mixing up an oil wash. I will be making a full video on oils. People keep asking me to. I had so much footage of different use cases of oils backed up, but during my holiday, I didn't actually take my hard drive that I keep all of my footage on overseas with me. But when I came back, it was gone, and I've been looking for it for weeks now, and it's just seemingly disappeared along with all of my footage from the last, you know, 6-7 months. So I will be making a video on oils, but in the meantime, I'm just doing an oil pin wash. So as you can see, the model is incredibly glossy now. I didn't bother to record it, but I sprayed it with a gloss varnish, and I just used Liquitex gloss varnish through an airbrush. Their polyurethane one, mainly because I can get it in bulk and it's cheap and it's available at, you know, my local branch of art stores. I'm then using Abteilung 502 oils. They're low in the actual linseed oil, so their dry time is quite low, and they're an artist grade, so they don't really break apart and get grainy like some cheaper oils do when you thin them. I'm using the Abteilung 502 fast dry thinner, which is just, I don't know what they do differently with it, but it's just a odorless white spirit that makes it dry quickly. I think these oils dried maybe like 20 minutes after I applied them, so probably just as much as any acrylic wash. So it's really not too bad. People often stay away from oils because they think, oh, it'll take days to dry. But no, if you're particular about what you're actually using, it's really not too bad. Just got to interrupt this video really quick for the obligatory sponsored segment, and today the sponsor is me. If you want to help out in creating these videos, you can check me out on Patreon. Over there's some cool rewards like the in-video shoutouts, the ability to submit pics for me to feature and comment on your paint jobs at the end of videos, the ability to send me stuff to actually have me paint for a video, and the chance to actually get models that I paint in videos every now and again, like the Cerastus Knight that I've done before, or the Leviathan Tyranids that I painted previously. So I've got to give a shout out to Drew and Pac-Man for this video. Thank you for your support. So if you're feeling ultra generous and want to support, links are in the description as always, but I'll stop taking up your time. Let's get back into the video. I've been talking over it, but I just gave an edge highlight with white and squid pink to the model and then blacked out pretty much everything that wasn't the pink armor. I never freehand. It's one of those techniques that, I don't know, I just never was brave enough to really give a go. So there are some things that I want to play with more and more, and develop my own painting, considering everything I mostly know now and do stemmed from commission painting for so long. So how to get models looking great for the tabletop in as little time and effort as possible. But now that I'm painting for myself and for these videos, I kind of want to expand my own palette. So I dotted out the rough shape of the Slaanesh symbol and then just kind of went point to point dot painting to fill in the logo. I didn't get it perfect the first go, that's for sure, but just using some Vallejo airbrush cleaner on a brush, you can basically just go in and just gently erase paint away. This does help because I have 2 layers of varnish over the top of the pink paint now, so I have that first gloss varnish and then the matte varnish over the top of that from when the oils were finished. And then went and did the trim. So I just used some grays and just increasingly, I didn't really like strictly highlight them. I kind of wanted them to look a little bit older, more abused, beat up. So I just used some cold grays and just highlight, dry brush, scratched them up. I ended up base coating most of the other stuff, so the skulls, the tabards, anything that I wasn't really sure of yet with Scale 75's Petroleum Grey. It's just a very warm, it's not really a grey, it's more of a brown actually. It's just a warm, very warm grey brown. I went over the top of that with a makeup brush, just dry brushing the tabard. I did that first purely because it's going to be messy, so any of the other detail I paint around it, if I were to do this, I would probably spill it over onto there. So I did this first, using some Scale 75's Rainy Grey, and then went around and base coated the metallics with Vallejo Metal Color Exhaust Manifold. I hit the metallics with my standard wash mix of Agrax Earthshade and some black wash. You can use any black wash. This is actually particularly made with a dip wash from, I believe, Army Painter that I've had for years. And then I've mixed it with some Flow Improver, which is essentially the same as like a contrast medium type paint. I decided that I wanted to add a little bit more to the tabard. It wasn't, you know, quite bright enough for me, so I just went in with some Mojave white with a brush and just kind of added some stippling and scratches with a small brush selectively to the raised areas just to give it a little bit more brightness. Now that the wash is dried, I just gave it a quick dry brush with my crappy small dry brush that I actually love because it gives really uneven, you know, scratchy looking textures to things like metallics. And that was just using some Vallejo Model Air Chrome. And then I base coated the teeth and tusks with one of my favorite browns, which is Scale 75's Gobi Brown. As you can tell with the metallics, the wood now, which I forget the colors I used because I skipped filming a couple of steps, but the teeth, the tusks, the metallics, the tabard, all that kind of thing, I'm trying to keep it not over the top, but more on the warm spectrum, considering the bulk of the model is now, you know, a very cold color. I painted the tusks and teeth with that same Mojave white from Scale 75. I didn't film it, but I used a makeup brush to give a soft dry brush to the tusks as well. And then I painted the skulls with more of a sickly color. So this was Vallejo model color green gray, which I then just progressively added a little bit more white to and just kept dry brushing. Another one of my favorite metallics, this is Scale 75's Decayed Metal, so just a beautiful kind of brassy tone. Painted over those top spikes, gave it the same wash as the silver metallics, and then dry brushed it with their Elven Gold. I then painted the weird little tassel after just wrestling in my head what color I wanted to make it. I didn't think it would really matter, but I don't know, just wanted it. I just ended up picking something at the end of the day. So this was some Vallejo Game Color Aquamarine, which was then washed with Athematic Blue from Games Workshop's contrast range, and then just kind of quickly highlighted with Vallejo Game Color Verdigris. I did the eyes with white ink quickly, and then some Vallejo Fluoro Color Magenta, and then just going in with some white again. I'm trying to keep this whole model as quick and simple as I can, because I would like to actually eventually have an army of these guys that I could play, because the pink itself is just so striking. So I don't want to spend a huge amount of time, considering these are just gaming pieces at the end of the day. I then used some Vallejo Game Color, or Model Color actually, sorry, Charred Brown, and base coated the base. Used some Xandri Dust from Games Workshop and gave it a quick dry brush. And then just painted on some watered down PVA glue and dropped on some of my grass and leaf mixture. Then using a couple of little careful dots of super glue, I just put on some grass tufts from Gamer Grass, painted the base rim black, and I was able to call this little Chaos test model done. So here he is in all of his glory. And here he is next to my magenta Loyalist Marine, just to show that, you know, they're both very similar color palette, but they do look strikingly different next to each other. I'm not sure which one I actually like the most. I think it's the Chaos one just for now, purely probably because it's just the most fresh, and, you know, I just came up with the color palette right here and now. But yeah, tell me which one you prefer and which one you'd rather see me actually develop an army of first. Or maybe it's the Dredge Marines. Everyone seems to love the Dredge Marines, so maybe I just keep painting them. I do have pretty much a whole army sitting in front of me. I was filming another video with one of my other Dreadnoughts and another character, but yeah, again, lost footage. So if you want to support me in making these videos, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to support me in any financial way, I have channel memberships, which you can see below. Patreon is available, where there are the many benefits for members that I listed previously in the video. But with that, I'm going to end it here, and I will see you guys in the next one.